Yeah, good evening. I'd like to discuss another subject, and I see that my camera is a little tilted, so okay, that's okay. Well, there is a thing that if you want to discuss evolution, then I think you should start at the beginning of evolution. Well, the theory of evolution claims that it started all with a living cell. Well, if that is so, and that living cell has originated from the chemicals that were in the early Earth days, according to theory, a couple of billions years ago, 4.5 billion years ago, according to theory. Okay, well, if that's so, and that actually the existence of a living cell is nothing more than a chemical experiment and so on. Well, okay. If that is true, then I challenge science to reproduce that experiment, and you can do it, of course, under ideal laboratory circumstances, and much more ideal than it was back then, so you can quicken up this process. But I challenge science to produce a living cell from the elements, just as it was in those days, according to theory, of course. And the next step, of course, in evolution, what the theory says, is that cell, that living cell, is going to evolve in other living cells and to form a higher organism in which the more cells are organized in a higher organism. So that's the challenge I lay down on the table of secular science, to produce a living cell out of the elements, and the next step is to let that or those cells evolve to, let's say, a worm or something like that, or a more cellular organism. Well, up till now, science has never been possible and not been able to do so. The Miller experiments, the Fox experiments, and so on and so on and so on. Yes, they can be. There are some steps which kind of suggest that it might have been a step in the generation of a living cell, but it's not a living cell. And I challenge science based on the basic chemicals. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, etc., 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 to make a living cell and to let that cell evolve into a higher organism. Well, unless science cannot answer this question, the whole evolution discussion is useless. And no matter where that, according to theory, that cell started to be, whether it's on a comet out in space or on another planet, or here on Earth, that's not the discussion. Yeah, I ask science to produce a living cell based on the elements, and as long as science cannot do that and let that cell evolve, then the whole discussion about evolution is useless. No living cell, no evolution. If you cannot make a living cell out of the elements, the whole evolution discussion, which is the next step after producing a living cell, is totally useless. No living cell, then no evolution. You need a living cell to get evolution. So you can focus on evolution, but don't forget the first step. That's the most important, crucial step if you want to discuss the whole evolution thing. If you cannot produce a living cell out of the elements, then the rest of the discussion is totally useless. Yeah? So I challenge you, scientists, secular scientists, produce under peer review, of course, and under let there be creationist scientists be there, and I mean, Craig Venter, he's a rich guy, so it must be possible to let guys like him pay for this kind of research, to make a living cell out of the elements and to let that one evolve into a higher organism. And as long as you don't have that, well, sorry folks, but then evolution is out of the sky from my point of view. There is somebody else who, I believe that somebody else made life, and that he is the only one who can create life, and that's God. God instantly made life. On, what was the day? The third day he put plants and useful bacteria in the ground, I think. And yeah, God made bacteria, yes, but not illness creating bacteria. The devil destroyed the useful bacteria and turned them into illness producing agents. But that's not from God. Also, the devil has got some power over matter, and he changed the bacteria into illness-producing cells. But God made useful bacteria for breaking down the leaves of the trees and so on. And if an animal dies, then God produced those living cells to do that. But I ask you to produce out of the elements a living cell. Let's repeat what evolution and abiogenesis claims, that life began in a simple cell. And let's do that experiment again. If you are so fond of evolution, well, that's what you claim as secular evolutionists, scientists. Well, then do it again. I mean, you have a whole laboratories in ideal situations which should make you able to do so. So what is stopping you? But I will tell you, you will not be able to, because it's so complex. It's so enormous complex, a living cell. But the challenge stays. As long as you cannot produce a living cell, there is no use in discussing evolution at all. Okay, that's the message. Bye bye. See you next time.